The Beef and Barnsey Show, brought to you by Bowlersmart.com, trusted by bowlers around the world since 2004. By Lightning Strikes Bowl, home of Bowlers Mart Pro Shop. By Platinum Ford, drive the difference. By Fire Lake Bowling Center, 24 state-of-the-art lanes. By True Grit Coatings, drive on our passion. By Road to Grip, king of them all. By 900 Global, striking worldwide.
What's going on, guys? Well, you asked and you received. We have Mark Baker back for what we're going to call Coach's Corner, and we will go through today kind of the outline of the show. I've got a couple of videos that people sent in from the show on Tuesday, and Mark's going to just do kind of a breakdown of how he would start to look at this player. We've got somebody who I imagine averages more than the other guy, if we're being polite. So Mark can have a look, see what he thinks. This isn't really a full breakdown. It's more the process that Mark would use. So we're going to wait for a few more people to get in here, Mark. But how about 27 and 28 in Akron then?
I made that TV show 3 times there. I bowled good once, the other 2 times. That pair's touchy. Pair's touchy. 28 doesn't hook off the gutter much.
No, I find it fun that we have this constant battle back and forth with what looks better on TV to the tradition of the game, and it kind of goes back and forth because that pair isn't very representative of the bowling center.
No, I bowled good in pretty much all the other pairs, but that one.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like lane 27, because usually when the 2 lanes are different, it's usually because one of the lanes is bad or good, whatever. 27 and 28, neither play like the pattern played. So it's kind of like a really odd dynamic because you're like, yeah, but we always bowl on 27 and 28. And then you watch it and you're like, why the fuck did someone pick this pair?
Right.
They could have picked any pair in the building.
It had to be logistics back in the day for ABC where they wanted to put it and get the most fans. Because the one thing about that bowling center that I had forgot that when I got back there, the settee area in the bowling alleys in the bowling center, not a lot of room to sit. That part hadn't changed when I hadn't been there since 1990. So I walked in the door and we went down there for the PBA league. I'm like, that's right. The last 8 games of match play, we never sat down because there was nowhere to sit. All the sponsors sat down on the lanes. So that was they always bowled in that pair. I made 2 shows I didn't bowl very good. One time I finished second. The shot played way in. Marshall and I got into third arrow and just played the hold. That was the only time I really bowled well at the Firestone on the show. Yeah,
like I say, it's just a really interesting thing. Your team secured passage up to Maine.
We were trying to sneak into that second spot, but Portland bowled a really good game, and they won the roll-off fair and square. So we will go into a third. Very pleased with my guys' performance. That's all you can do.
Yeah, talk us through it a little bit because kind of you guys picked up pretty quickly about the 2 lanes being different because Dick Allen might have had the best luck of anybody who bowled on either show on the team. He bowled his 2 shots, and then you're done.
Well, we knew that what we did, in essence, didn't matter. If we won or lost, it has no bearing. So if Portland lost, there had been a 4-way tie for second. And then in the round robin, we would have been 4-2 against that group. So if Portland and I both won, which we did, Portland beat us 2-0. So Portland beat us for the bye. So the guys, Vi was kind of picking the lineups all year because I wasn't there much. So they wanted to put Nick last to get him some TV time. And, Dick bowled really, really good. And then we just decided to try different lineups. So we tried to win and everything, but we were trying to get guys in different spots that hadn't been there.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's been kind of interesting. Teams have kind of gone back and forth with having an anchor, not having an anchor, morning, Robert. What's your overarching thoughts on Baker? Do you have any strong opinions on how to build your lineup or Without
always
giving out
like
trade
Doherty going.
secrets.
Doherty's been on my team for a long time. He's always done very well fourth. He's a rah-rah guy. He's not afraid to throw it for all the money. He's in almost all the roll-offs. I like him fourth, fifth, no problem. We've moved fifth. We've moved the anchor guy around quite a bit. At Portland itself, at times, Dick Allen is like a different human being when he bowls there. So I've had Dick on my team bowl anchor. We won. I picked Dick again. He bowled second. We won. So I have a, he's like you said, just give me the ball. Just give me the ball for all the money, boss. And when a guy says that to you, he doesn't care if he has a look or not. So he'll get looked at. If it was up to all of us, we would just throw Jesper there every time.
Yeah.
When Jesper's on, it's fun to watch. I mean, and his confidence is getting back up. I thought the second half of this year, Jesper bowled unbelievably well. I got a chance to work with him here at Westpac. And since then, he's bowled really, really well. I understand Detroit, it didn't hurt to be left-handed. So, I have eyes and I can watch. I can do this. I can do math. So
I feel like he bowled solid.
Yeah.
Like Jesper.
So it's tricky who we're going to put. Frankie's been last. I think Vi put himself last. Doherty was last. I think everybody on our team pretty much bowled anchor at least one time because they did bowl in so many different conditions. This is the first time we haven't bowled on Mark Roth the entire time. We've always been at Portland. We've always bowled on Mark Roth, the pattern. So it's been kind of easy to figure out who goes where. This year was short patterns, easier patterns. So I thought it was fun. I thought the guys turned into a team. I really liked it. I wish we could, afford to go out there more often, but, it's tricky. But I thought that the team concept and bowling all the weeks, I thought it was a really good move.
Yeah, I just feel like a lot of the times with the PBA League, it's like they get 2/3 of the way there to making it like it's a really big part of the season, and then we always just back out a little bit. So there was a few things that were like teething issues with it. I thought it was kind of hilarious when they're in Detroit and Tony informed us of what the actual rules were, and every player went, "What?"
Huh? I was there for that.
And I sort of said to Tony, I said, that's your feedback on that's not the way we've done it all year. When the managers say, "What?" Well, they haven't been there, so they don't understand how that's worked.
Right.
But when the players do it, we just haven't bowled that rule all year. We didn't even really know that the team that was on the left lane to start with got to choose which order, because in the bowling center, it's just, it's like whoever goes first goes first.
Right.
There isn't really and then the whole thing with the roll-offs. I was actually saying that your team had two different guys bowl in the 10th frame and both bowl in the roll-off against us.
Yeah.
And I sort of said to Tony, I said, we're not complaining about that happening. We just want to know which way we're going to play the rules.
I think because it's new and when the situation happens for the first time and then there's a rule. So if it happens 2 or 3 years, we had a 2 or 3 year run at doing this, we'd all have it down to a science. So
yeah, I think Tony's better at keeping notes than John was or Tom Clark was.
Yeah.
Because I lost count of how many times we had the argument in Portland. Well, we didn't do it that way last year. Yes, we did. No, we didn't.
True.
So,
it was fun. I know I only went to 2 stops. I went to Detroit and then I went to Akron. So I thought it was fun because you had great crowds at both of them.
Yeah.
The crowds are into it. The players, the part that I like, we were bowling for basically our match didn't matter. And when Jesper struck to win, he was pumped. He's the one that got us going. Jesper was into it. So I like the fact that my guys all gelled pretty good. And I can't, Portland's a long ways off, but I'm already looking forward to it.
Yeah. Eli, hey Bakes, will it be another two-handed camp ever?
Eli, I am trying to pull it off. It'll be exciting the day I do decide to post it because I've got about 200 people on a waiting list and there's only 36 spots. Good problem to have. The players just got done with their tour. We're working on a date and just trying to get all the, it's very tricky to pull this camp off with the names that are involved. Kyle Troop, Anthony Simonson. We can just stop there. 2 of the top 5 bowlers in the world. So when people pay the amount of money we charge for camp, they need to be in that building when they walk in the door for camp that morning. Those 2 guys got to be sitting there. Chris Vi, Chris Sloan, all my other guys. So because they don't make a living now, basically for the next 6 months. You got to make sure they're going to be there come hell or high water, because I can't schedule it. And then they get offered something to go overseas, or the PBA comes up with a made for TV deal and they're offering them 5 figures or more. They're going to have a hard time. I got to make sure they're going to be there no matter what. So that's what we're working on. We've got some possible dates in mind, waiting to hear back from the hotel in Las Vegas. We're trying to pull it off.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Once you set the bar kind of high, it almost is like the poison chalice, I guess.
Well, that's, yeah, you're right. And the guys Eli came to the camps, and the guys did such a good job. So when they hit the door and they come in the morning, Kyle's got the full afro going. He's in Kyle Troop mode. He's in afro mode. So the kids, the younger guys that were there for the camps, I mean, Kyle, just the personality he exudes is just amazing. And, Anthony doesn't talk very much. When Anthony talks, some of the stuff he said, I had never heard of. So part of the reasons I want to do the two-handed camp, because as a guy who coaches for a living, I learned so much from them. Anthony Simonson got me to see how swings work much better. Chris Vi had some terms I had never heard before. I mean, Sean Ryan's a super smart guy. So there's a lot of reasons to do camp. Obviously, there's a lot of two-handers. The 2 camps have gone over very well, and it's what I do for a living. So I'm definitely doing everything I can to make camp happen again.
Robert Eddy, one of our big friends from Lightning Strikes, says, how about an East Pack training center?
There you go. I mean, I think you will see in the next 10 years, there'll be a lot of training centers. Because I know in Southern California, with the closing of the centers, and bowling has come back with such a strong, it's just come back so big. It's gotten trickier to get free lanes to do lessons. I mean, the leagues are up, open plays up. And plus, if you're giving a lesson, you're charging X amount of dollars. And you're going to try to get the best deal you can for proprietor so you can make the most money. When you've got people charging $50, $60, $70 an hour to practice, and they're getting it, and I walk in the door like, hey, I'll give you 10 for an hour. They're like, get out of here. I'm not losing money. We were closed for, a couple of years. So I can see that. I mean, there's definitely but it's worked out well for me here. It's quite the nice place to come to work. I can see that happening. Now, whether you're talking about me moving back there and running it for you, I don't know about that. You got to talk to the wife.
Franchises.
Yeah, you can only move yourself around so much.
Hey, Dan, thanks for the super chat. So, yeah, real quick, if you're not seeing the banner on the bottom, Mark has a video series. I personally have watched both videos, even the two-hander video. It gave somebody with basically no understanding of the two-handed swing a foothold, so to speak. So when we were doing some of the clinics just recently, I could sort of help the other pros, like give us some, like, I don't know, some tips that we could help the two-handers with. Because most times when a good one-handed bowler tries to help a good two-handed bowler, they say some of the dumbest things imaginable. And they only really seemed as dumb after I watched the video and started to get kind of an understanding of why it's so much easier to bowl two-handed. And being square at the foul line really isn't a very good thing for a two-hander.
Not if you want to clear both arms.
Can be a good thing for a one-hander. But when a one-hander starts helping a two-hander, usually a disaster. So that definitely helped me. It made the lessons feel a lot, or the quick tip things feel a lot less uncomfortable. Because I hate not really having a way to help the guys. When they come out and you're like, I don't really know what you should do. That's not what people want to hear. So
right.
Dan, in a slump, saw Bakes here, started a virtual lessons. 1 month after first lessons, the chain lead finally clicked, finished 5th in a small tournament on Monday. So
very good, Dan. And I just finished up your second lesson. I sent it to my IT guy to get it rendered, and you'll have it back in the next 48 hours. So I saw the improvements in your game. I was very impressed. So I've sent you back some more notes. So the virtual lessons have being on your show quite a bit, then doing the video. The virtual lessons has definitely taken off here in the last 3-4 months. This morning I was here at Westpac at 6:30. I knocked out 3 more, trying to get caught up. Being gone for a week for camp and then going to Akron. When I'm at camp, I don't do anything else but camp. It's just I don't really answer any emails. I don't do any virtual lessons. So I got way behind the 8 ball. So I've done 11 virtual lessons in the last 2 days, and I'm still got a ways to catch up, but I'll get there.
That's very cool. He says, seen a lot of Mark Baker shorts on YouTube.
Yeah, I hooked up with the cleanup crew, and they come out to the training center, and we filmed for 3 or 4 hours of chaos. And this guy, Pistol Pete, is unbelievably good at editing and putting it together, making it look like I know what I'm doing. So we're just having a lot of fun with it. They're very good at doing the shorts and the reels and the search engine optimization. The 63-year-old doesn't know much about, but they're doing a great job with it. So we seem to have a pretty good synergy. So we're going to keep doing them.
Oh, that's awesome. Is there another game changer book in the works, or is the video just the way to go?
The video is the way to go. The books are hard to sell because of a certain, how do I say this nicely? Certain age group doesn't read much. If it's not on their phone or on a computer, you know, the younger generations, not many people learn by reading anymore. That's why the Westpac Training Center works so well. Strike Seeker is a video. People are very, very visual because that's what we're a product or environment. Everything's on your phone or a laptop or a pad. So people are very good at learning visually anymore. I could have written a book. Books are labor of love, and it's just so much inventory to make profit. I mean, I got to buy 5,000 books from the publisher and then resell them myself to see profit. I just don't have the time for that anymore.
No, I can understand that. So do you want to start with the more accomplished player or the less accomplished?
Oh no, go the other way.
Go with the less.
Yeah,
okay,
sure.
So we've got the video from behind. Oh no, that's the one from the side. No, God, I'm good here. I'm definitely not your IT guy here. Right.
All right, we should probably start in the beginning of the approach.
Yeah, I'm trying. I just don't see a start from the beginning. There it is.
There we go.
He put it in slow motion, which wasn't exactly ideal, but here we go.
So the first thing I do from the back, I watch their footwork. His first step goes under his head. Second step should go about 3-4 boards left. Footwork looks pretty good. Pivot steps back inside his head. He's got a window. Now he steps or slides about 4 boards right. You would probably address that. But this is going to be a deal where you work on the video, and it's as he steps off pretty quick. This would be all from the side. So if you play it from the side real quick.
Yep.
Our four-step person here, well, he doesn't really have the first step, but he has no push away. So when we get to him right here, you showed it to me earlier. So because he has no push away, here we go. See his ball straight down. You still have to have a push away. So now he has no reason for the ball to swing. So he brings the ball back with his elbow. So his timing is super early. The only thing this guy has going for him, he looks unbelievably strong. So he's just manhandling it. So he's going to get to 180 just because he's really strong. But if you want to get to 200, 210, you've got to develop a swing. So the first thing I would do from the side is I would show him somebody has a push away. You know, he's built. So I would use Bill O'Neill as an example to bowl against this guy. So when he gets to the timing spot, as you can see, as I grab my mouse to move around there, I'm just trained. See right there, when his foot gets here, this swing should be back here. But he's got so much flex in his elbow. His timing is early. So the right leg won't be the power source. His right shoulder will. And as you can tell by looking at this guy, he's got no body fat. So he's super strong. So he's getting away with it. But he's going to always fall into that category of lacking consistency. And his misses are always going to be wild to the left. Timing gets early, upper body over rotates. So his breastplate's aiming at the 2-pin or the 4-pin. And that knocks his swing slot out to the right. So he'll hit his front target, but he'll miss the break point inside because his elbow's so bent, he's probably going to have a lot of rotation, and the ball's going to duck hook on the back.
When I
have much more of a traditional push away. I don't mind that he bends his elbow. I just want him to bend his elbow on the way down. I don't want him to bend his elbow to create a backswing on the way up.
I was about to say, when I watched this the first time, because the video, obviously, the quality came across on the email. I almost wondered whether he had his thumb in it to start with. So it makes me wonder if this ball's actually drilled for him or if he's got a really big thumb hole.
That's another question. That's why, that's why on the virtual lessons, I ask him quite a few questions to get some of those answers out of him.
Because I say,
that tells me where to look, because he's just super, super strong, but he's super, super early.
Yeah. Because like I say, when I saw it really quickly, I actually thought he had his thumb out because he almost looks like kind
He's
of like
palming
how
it.
you would have to cup it if your thumb was out. But his
So
thumb's
if
definitely
his
in.
thumb's out, then you just need to start watching videos of Tom Doherty. That's my easy cop out. Go watch that guy.
Yeah, it's one of those deals where there's like one guy in the world who's successful at this, so you might watch him.
I know Tom's game pretty well, but people don't realize how big Tom is and how strong Tom is. When you know, hey, guys, throw a good shot and you hit somebody in the back, you're supposed to have give. When you hit Tom in the back, there's no give. Tom's a strong guy.
Yeah, I was laughing a little bit because we did a clinic with Rash, and it was one of those kind of like, you know, you get a little group for 15 minutes and move on type deal.
Mm-hmm.
And one guy says to me, so I have one question for you. And he said, do you think I should do whatever it was? I can't even remember what he asked me, but he says, do you think I should do it like Belmo and Simo or? And I said, yes.
Exactly.
Now, I think he was talking about the back leg and how Vi has his back leg more down and Simo and Belmo have it more up or whatever it was. And I said, well, those two guys have like 21 majors between them. So whatever they do that you think you should try, that's probably your first step. Emulate them. I go, Chris Vi's pretty good. I mean, but those two have pretty much won every tournament there is to win.
It's very hard to dispute the record of those two guys. I mean, Anthony's what, 4 or 5 shots away from 8 or 9 majors right now?
Yeah.
I mean, he's had a bunch of seconds on majors already. I mean, Anthony could easily have 9 or 10 majors at 27 years old. The fact that he's bowled for that many titles in majors just shows you how talented that kid is. And Belmo's so fundamentally sound, he doesn't get credit for that. Belmo's got everything's he's just figured it out. And there's nobody before him. So people ask me, well, is Belmo the best? I'm like, if there was no Jack Nicklaus or Ben Hogan or Bobby Jones, and it just started with Tiger Woods, then the Tiger Woods be the greatest ever played. Well, two-handed, it starts with Belmo. There is no, I mean, he's it. So I tell people all the time, hey, I'm starting to look more like Jason. I'm like, and how are you bowling? Way better. I'm like, if you look like Belmonte, you'll like bowling. I mean, he's having a rough year and he's in the top 10 almost every week.
Yeah. No, exactly.
Belmo's in a slump and his record's like he's made every finals but like one.
Yeah. He's not telling anybody. I still don't think he's as healthy as he could be.
Oh, is that right?
There's just a couple of times when he's played the lanes in a way that I'm like, that looks like you're not trying to do something because you don't want to do that. And I've never really seen him like that. He's kind of always been like, just do whatever I need to do. And earlier on in the season, he was throwing it way slower than he needed to, like kind of way more often. And like the 10 pin looks like a moving target for him this year. And I know he's been, it's kind of funny because I'd never really realized it. I thought me and Dom were the only people who were kind of like this, but it's like Frankie's a really good spare shooter. But once he changes spare ball, he's a terrible spare shooter for a while till he gets used to it.
Really? That's interesting. That's something I wouldn't know about.
And I'm either I make everything or it's awful. Like for a while. Like and it's I mean, I call it awful, but then I look at the stats and it's really not that awful, but it's not, it's just feels horrible. But you get the wrong spare ball and it's just like, oh my God, this thing's awful. Like
once you lose a little bit of confidence, spares are so much about confidence. So if you're not really 100% all in on that ball, that will definitely affect, your ability to make as many spares you normally do.
And it's like just getting the thumb right is just because with your reactive balls, you're in a position where your hand, it's like more natural to come out of it because you kind of come out the side of it. So your thumb but with trying to throw the spares, you're trying to be way behind it all the time. And it's kind of like, if you don't get that feel right, it's like awful. So it's just funny. And I know that Belmo tried a different plastic ball during the season. And I guess they got a different one and it hooked miles.
Oh, that's not good.
And like Jesper, gets the sweats if they lose his bag that's got his spare ball in it.
Jesper's turned himself into a pretty good spare shooter.
Jesper's the best spare shooter right now.
Right. So he wasn't that a long time ago. So that's a testament to Jesper. He's put a lot of effort in.
I was about to say, I don't know if he can't use this blue one. Because this blue one goes like arrow straight. And I can tell you from experience, not all of those clear balls always go straight.
Interesting.
That's
True.
a fair point.
I get it.
Yeah. Nice to see you, Ryan. Thanks for the super chat. So when you're when you were building the videos, let's talk about that for a little bit. When you were building the videos, what were like the main you've done these lessons for a long time. While you had that group of players, did you learn more things while doing the videos, or was it just really a confirmation of all the things you kind of knew beforehand?
The one-handed, I kind of knew what I was going to do before I did it. Because I, obviously coach more one-handers than two-handers to this day still. But I was very surprised how much Husted and Prather looked alike. I mean, I knew Danielle's game pretty well because of I've worked with her at Team USA a few times. So I knew Danielle. I just liked how she bowled. So that's how I picked her. And I wanted, both genders represented.
Uh-huh.
The two-handed, I didn't know a thing. I had studied Jason quite a bit because I coached two-handers. I mean, my son's two-handed. So if you're going to be a coach, you just start with that guy. And I had studied. I never got to ask him any questions. I've never worked with Jason. I didn't work with anybody during the video. I just said, there's some tape on the lane. Throw it between the tape and strike every ball. I don't care what ball you use. I don't care where you play. I'll make it all work. So then with Jason and Anthony, that was just a lot of man hours sitting here in the training center at night, just watching them bowl and trying to figure out why were they different and why were they the same. And then once I kind of figured it out, I got a different angle from the front. Once I figured it out from the third step on, then it made me a much better coach. But then I started to see, because I kept going back to the same premise. How are these guys' records so good? So it's just a lot of, I knew what I was going to do with Jason. I pretty much had that figured out. But with Anthony, I knew I had worked at the two camps with him, and I knew he was unique, and I knew he did this thing about moving the air forward really well. But once I got to look 10, 12 hours of video with him, I kind of knew what I was going to do.
Yeah, it is very interesting. When you spoke about like how Simo is probably the most self-taught person there is, and the conversation I had with you about like some of the ways he looked at it, and you'd like, I've never really thought about it like that. Yeah. And then it's very fascinating. I crossed with BJ first block. And like you said, that yellow spare ball, she didn't make it out for the second block. That was my own fault. I thought I was spare ball immune, and the one I'd used all season was kind of cracking out pretty bad. And I took one of these bright yellow spare balls that Barnes bowled like an asshole with at the Weber Cup because I thought it'd be fun to tease him with it. And I was bowling next to Vi, and Vi said that he was starting to get PTSD seeing it go down the lane because Barnes couldn't make a spare with it. And then I couldn't make a spare with it either. So the yellow spare.
That must mean that ball was defective.
Yeah. The whole run, everyone ever made. The only thing that sucked about it was, like you have to write down the last four of the serial number. And of course, your spare ball, you kind of get to learn it, like the last four without even looking at it because you write it down every time. Well, it was 2-2-2-2. So I was like, this is the easiest one to remember ever. I'll never have to. And then I couldn't make a spare.
But it didn't do its job.
Then it was gone. So, all right, let's have a look at the second guy we've got here. Do you want the side or the back first?
Let's go side. Let's do the back real fast so I can look at their footwork.
Okay. So I can rewind it, or it might.
Oh, that's legit there.
Yeah.
You just go back and just stop it on every step. So you're trying to get that. If he takes 5, they're right under his head. I'm not a big believer in tilting early because now that he's tilted his shoulder so quick, he doesn't really have a swing. He's going to pull it up. Go ahead and keep going. Rear step's good. Footwork's fine. Gets the ball to the top. Go ahead and throw it. But now from the side, I'll show you where he might. One thing you guys on tour are very good at is it's not so much how good your releases are, it's how consistent your releases are. So you guys are excellent at controlling your head. Most of your heads never go past your left knee. So see how that knee bend right there? When you drop down, that shoulder is no longer stable. So most of the pros, the easiest example is your buddy Dom. Absolutely no knee flex in a second step. So when he stays tall like that, or Prather, or Dave Husted, or Tommy Jones, or Barnes, Bill O'Neill. When they stay tall in that second step, it stabilizes the shoulder. So if you want to use the grandfather clock analogy, grandfather clocks don't bend their knees. So when his knees flex right here, his shoulder was up here. Like, see where this kid is here? His legs are straight. So his shoulder's here. If he stayed like that, like Dom, the first two steps, that stabilizes this, which turns into the fulcrum. So when Dom has a little push out, his ball swings up so easy. He took like a grandfather clock that swing, how the pendulum swings. Well, grandfather clocks don't bend their knees and drop. So when this young guy drops his knees down here, basically the ball's dead. So now he has to create a backswing, and he recreates his forward swing. What's going to happen when you get to the release point? Go ahead and get the release point and stop. See, right here, he's in great position. Put his foot a little farther forward, a little bit more, another click. There you go. But see, now he's going to get too much body part in front of this left knee. And the more your head goes forward in front of your left knee, that'll make your head go left and your upper body over rotate. So now his breastplate's aiming at the 4-7, but he's wanting the ball to go to 6, 7, 8 at 45 feet. So that makes your hand redirect the ball on the bottom. If you look at, you guys are really good when you get done, your chins are almost all on the same plane as your kneecap. So then your upper body doesn't rotate. So what happens is your breastplate controls your shoulder and your shoulder controls your thumb. So when your breastplate stays quiet, your swing's in a slot. So I take that upper body and I rotate that upper body left, my swing bumps to the right. So now his target didn't move, but his swing path did. So invariably you add too much rotation. When you go on tour, the first thing I notice watching all you guys bowl is how much more forward roll you have than the average amateur gets around it. But you guys are never not facing your break points with your upper body. So your guys' swing slots are so good. And you guys all get your head to stop. What I did the video with Prey there, Houston. Their head's just dead stop. Belmonte's had dead stops on his kneecap. So when your head stops, the ball pops off your hand in the same place every time. None of you guys have your hand. His thumb is still in the ball out here. Right by there, the ball should be hanging on your fingertips. So his release point is going to be a little late. So he's actually losing power because the longer you hang on to let it go, your thumb and your fingers come out at the same time. So if his thumb would have come out back here by his toe and it was on his fingertips right there, I think he would actually have a better, a more consistent release. So I'm always getting people to keep that. So when you drop down early and you pull it up, you have to conversely pull it down, and the pulling it down is what shoves his upper body forward. See, go ahead and go forward and stop it right when his foot gets in front of his head. Keep going a little bit farther. See, right there is where you guys all get. Your heads are all behind your knees and your foot when you get to the timing spot. You guys maintain this part on top of this much better. He's going to keep going because he has to pull it down because he pulled it up. And the shoulder to the distance from your shoulder to your chin never changes. So when he pulls the ball down, it's moving his head forward. So his release will be a little bit late. So he's actually not catching as much as he wants. I see this all the time.
So I have a question for you. With the left arm, I see a lot of guys who it feels like their left arm initiates too early, like they're really trying to pull it through. Correct. But I imagine that isn't really the cause. That's the effect.
It's there together. So the right shoulder pushes forward. It pulls. Your shoulders are on rockers. So if your right shoulder pulls the left shoulder's got to go back. You can't pull your right shoulder down and have your left shoulder go in. That's like getting in a fist fight and punching with both hands. That's a good way to get your ass kicked.
So if you're feeling like, like you're talking about your breastplate kind of over rotating, what is the best way in your mind to wait on that rather than, because obviously everybody's
I've never talked about the left arm when I coach. I've never brought it up in anything I've ever done because I've studied left arm for about 5 years and I figured out one thing. There isn't one, everybody does it different. You got like O'Neill and Parker, they dead fish it. Chris does the swim move back. Everybody's got a little different thing. I just don't want it to go up and I don't want it to go forward. Some people really you got Roth and Walter Ray and Houston. They dislocate their left shoulder. They pulled it back so hard, but their chest never moved. So I'm not sure. I've never really been I don't spend a lot of time on the off arm. The only thing I don't like is when their left arm goes forward. Then they have no power. So then I don't like when the left arm goes on your left leg. No, other than that, I've never really, some have it up, some have it lower, some really rip it back. Some say Parker and Bill O'Neill kind of hangs. I haven't found one way of coaching with the left arm that everybody does. The timing spot's easy. Pretty much everybody gets there because you can keep your spine tilt quiet, creates a release point. But you also have to keep your head on top of your knee for balance.
I guess I didn't really mean like what you should work on with your left arm. What I really meant is like, what are some of the best ways to like kind of keep this back? Because obviously,
So
like
it's all in his second step. So when he pulls it up, he has to pull it down. You can't drop down in your second step and pull your swing up and not have to pull it down. Your shoulder, you can't have a pulled up backswing and then you get to the top and magically turn it into a free swing. That's why all the guys on tour stay so tall. They push it out and they walk by it and their arms swing up. So they get down here. So then their right leg is more the power source. So because you guys initiate your back leg so well, that's what stabilizes your guy's chest.
Okay.
So you guys use your lower body better. So that's why your body doesn't move very much. Like here at the training center, from the front, I could draw a line diagonally from his eyes through his spine tilt from the front. And when people throw it correctly, that line doesn't move for like 30 minutes on the clock. From their timing spot to the release point, you don't see that line ever move. Well, that line doesn't move. Their chest never moves. Hey, why am I staying behind it so much longer? I'm not turning it early. Correct. It's all about getting your shoulder out of it. It swings off your shoulder. You don't throw it with your shoulder. If you threw it with your shoulder and you were good, all the guys on tour would be my size. And they're not.
Yeah, like I say, I just think that a lot of guys just like it's very difficult because I feel like high level players, we always feel like we're doing something wrong, like really late on in the swing. But a lot of the time, those things happen way earlier.
I don't think anything happens late.
Yeah,
it just gets going too fast.
But what I'm saying is like for you, when you were bowling, before you started doing all of coaching things, I'm sure that when you felt like you got on the side of it, you're like, man, I'm just going to stay more underneath it. Because that's like your brain like tells you.
Yeah, to me, it was always my legs because I was so tall. When my legs were underneath me, my release was good. When my legs weren't where I wanted, my hand tried to make up for it. So then I was constantly throwing, a strike in the 9th, 2 in the 10th for 2-1. Then I had 85 in the 5th again the next game. My legs were underneath me. I had spare four-bagger, and couldn't even tell you where I was playing. It was just easy. Yeah. So to me, being so tall, and then the balls didn't do what they do now, so catching it was more. I think catching it to get that shape down lane was more imperative. So I had to get my right leg underneath me to get my hand to do what it was supposed to do.
Okay. I think this is quite an interesting question. Remember, guys, we got the drawing. So if you have a super chat and you want to get access to these Mark Baker videos, get a super chat in. We're going to have a drawing. We're not doing very well right now. I'm a little embarrassed for Mark here. This isn't good. Get some questions in. Oh God, where is it? My question is, what's the optimal point in your approach to get lower?
Top of your back. So there's one place where you drop. I'm not a big believer in getting low. This isn't the 70s.
Yeah.
Really getting really, really low causes two things: slow ball speed and early roll. And nobody's ever come to me for a lesson for that. You need some knee flex, but you don't need to get low. I'm not a big believer in that. That's if you get low, you get the ball in the lane early. And getting these balls on the lane early, they just start hooking. You want the ball to hook down lane. So to me, when you watch the bowlers, when the way I teach it, that's why I talk about being tall early. I think your hips should only drop once, and your hips drop on the start of your downswing. If you watch all the best pros, whether they're two-handed or one-handed, when their swing's on the top and they start going into their slide, their hips drop, they stay super level, and that's what creates a flat spot.
I also think that I have a conspiracy theory that Barnes doesn't want to buy into, that I think bowling's much easier for shorter people.
You look in the Hall of Fame, it is.
I have this argument with Chris all the time. He goes, well, last time I checked, Steve Cook's in the Hall of Fame. And I'm like, yeah, last time I checked, Muggsy Bogues in the Hall of Fame as well. It's not ideal for being a basketball player.
Say if I had to pick a bowler, I'd pay 5'8" to 5'10".
Yeah.
Is what I would think would be the best optimum
pretty much
height.
Everybody is. Like, it's crazy. I mean, there's obviously going to be, this is pretty funny. Hey, I'm short, doesn't help. maybe you don't realize it doesn't help. Imagine how bad you'd be if you were 6'4".
Tell you what, I was 6'4". I mean, the guys that made it that were tall all ended up in the Hall of Fame. It was most of the tall guys, we don't make it. We just can't get our body in the right position as easy. I mean, Pete never worried about his knee bend. Dave Ferraro never thought about it. I mean, they just, I'm very sure Norm didn't try to get low. He started low.
Well, yeah.
I mean, he just had to kind of walk. So I was always fighting that. I mean, the guys, Dickinson and Cook, Chris to be considered tall, Husted. I mean, there aren't, Mika. There's very few of them. Dave Suthar. The ones that were good were great, but you don't have a giant amount of guys that were super. Like Dick Weber, that was like the perfect size for a Pro Bowler. Belmo, I think Belmo's 5'10". Anthony's much smaller. Norm's much smaller. So I think there's a lot of guys in that.
Tommy's not tall.
Parker's not tall.
Short.
So those guys all have pretty good records.
The chat's woken up, so that's good. Barnes' argument, just to finish it, is that like people who were taller were doing other sports, so that's why they weren't bowlers. So that was more to do with the fact that there's just less tall people bowling because tall people who are athletes would play something else.
I did. I played a lot of basketball, and a lot of baseball, and turned into bowler. But I mean, I get that. So
that was his argument. I'm just like, just give me this. I'm 6 feet. It's a disadvantage. Stop. I understand that you were the best. Chris, I understand that you were the best bowler for like the best part of 5 years. Just stop.
That's pretty much not his personality.
No, he likes having that argument. Although when I pull out you were the best bowler in the world for 5 years, he kind of likes that. He enjoys that because everybody spends the whole time telling him how much he sucks at the minute. So every now and again,
when he does go to the memory bank, some pretty good memories.
Yeah. But his memories right now are getting drilled by Haas, and I don't think he likes that too much.
Yeah, Walter Ray got him again yesterday.
Yeah, it was nice. Walter Ray bowled 260 against him and ended up finishing the game 200 against Haas.
Always
Ladders are the best. Hey, Bakes, two-hander here. When I straighten my arm at release to create a longer fat spot, I feel like I lose control and feel a bit like Vi. How do I fix that?
Then I would go back to not making your arm flat. I mean, you don't want to do something because somebody else does it. You want to do something that's effective for you. Remember, no two bowlers in the world throw the ball the same. So even though I try to use markers, I like Belmonte's markers as a two-hander. I try to get people to in certain spots to look like Jason. But I've never had two people show up like, I can't believe it. Stu, last week there was a guy in here that looked just like you. I can't even tell the difference. Never said that in 30,000 lessons. So everybody looks different, so your feel's a little different. So if you feel like you're straightening your arm out to create a flat spot, because that's what he tells you you're supposed to have, but you're losing control, so I wouldn't do that. I would go back to feels good and control, now what looks good on video. Because at the end of the day, they're not going to ask you how do you look on video. They're going to ask you what your score is. I knocked down 268 pins. Man, your swing looked good.
Yeah, I mean, we have this debate. If it was about looking good, Verity would win every single tournament.
There'd be a different Hall of Fame if it was based on looks, not about. I mean, you wouldn't have Don Carter, you wouldn't have Earl Anthony, and you wouldn't have Walter Ray. You can make a pretty good case. That's the three best of all time.
Yeah, I was making the analogy about Walter Ray and EJ actually being quite similar, and somebody looked at me like I was nuts, and I said,
"Got the same
Walter
swings.
Ray bowls like Walter Ray because he played horseshoes." And I go, and EJ bowls like he bowls because he was a great golfer.
Yeah.
And I go, and it's almost impossible to create what EJ does. And it's definitely impossible to bowl like Walter Ray does.
Right. You would have to put in 20 years of playing horseshoes.
Yeah.
For EJ, his swing and the loop in his swing when he plays golf. Right. But, that's just how sports works. Right. I agree with that 100%.
It's just fascinating how two guys who can be like, in the argument for the best 10 bowlers of all time, like Walter Ray in the argument for the best one bowler of all time. And like nobody would ever teach them to play like that. And like
Correct.
In golf right now, Scotty Scheffler's miles better than everybody else. And there isn't one person who thinks him shuffling his feet the way he does as he comes through is a good idea.
What he does. I mean, when you go back and look at all the greats and they all do this one thing, and this guy's like dancing up there and he hits it wherever he wants it. So it's pretty wild. Like I said, the best in the world, they just got to do what coaching isn't about me telling you what to do. Coaching is about me telling you what you can do. I got to factor all that in and give you things that you can work on that you can physically actually accomplish. Me coming up with the right answer and you never being able to do it, that's just going to frustrate you and not make you any better. So part of coaching isn't just saying, here, you should do this. I want you to do this. So I understand. I mean, I get the premise of bowling. I haven't struck in a long time, but I struck a lot in my time because I wasn't any good spares. Think about it, I was high average on tour and I was probably the worst spare shooter ever. So I stroke a shitload. That's all I was ever good at. So I get the premise on striking.
Yeah.
So what am I going to do in your game to allow you to get what the results you want? Because I understand how the results work. That's all I do as a coach. What can you do, not what should you do?
Yeah, I mean it's a bit the same. Like I like this analogy when I'm bowling on the lanes, right? And you have to bowl for a while to be able to evaluate it. But I think personally, as somebody who's bowled for a living for a long time without being necessarily like good at any one particular thing or better than the field at any one particular thing, I think that when you are trying to evaluate which part of the lane you've got to bowl, you got to be honest with yourself, and knowing what your shortcomings are is a really big thing. So like you've got to evaluate if like bowling fourth arrow is better than bowling first arrow, but you're like 50, your shots are 50% better bowling first arrow than they are bowling fourth arrow. You've got to evaluate how much of an advantage it is to bowl fourth arrow. Because if it's only 20% better to bowl fourth arrow than first arrow, and you're 50% better throwing shots bowling first arrow, you're way better bowling the shot over on first arrow, even if it's a little more difficult. So like, and that's what I feel like a good coaching is like. It's like, you're not going to tell me, like, if you were building a bowler, they wouldn't bowl like me.
Right. Or they wouldn't bowl like, I mean, I never use me as an example how I bowled.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think what I've learned from virtual lessons and a lot of people, how I, give lessons, bowlers are unbelievably good at telling me what they're bad at. The self-analysis, they never get it wrong. My balance, my timing, and my release are inconsistent. I watched the 3 videos like, yeah, that's excellent. They show me 3 videos. They're a little different. Most bowlers, what you just said, most bowlers cannot tell me what they're excellent at.
Yeah.
So that's why I think the pros are really, really good at understanding, hey, I'm good at this. And how fast can I get my body to this spot where I see the lane the best, I get my best scores. Part of being a good athlete is, understanding what you are good at and finding a way to do it more often.
All right, let's catch up on these super chats so we don't run out of time. He says, Jeremy says, thanks, coach, for fixing my two-handed timing. Didn't realize I was early on my push away like a one-hander. Timing is on point now.
Very good, Jeremy. Good to hear.
Matt says, not entering because I already own the video and taking lessons from Bakes. So that's pretty nice.
Pretty good. Pretty good client.
For an awesome session. I still have an issue getting my speed as a two-hander because I tilt too far forward and low. Any tips?
Buy the video. I talk about that, yeah. Getting too far forward and getting too low, bowling is about walking and letting go of an object. So if you were walking across the street, you wouldn't get so low. The light turns green, you're just going to walk. In the beginning of the approach, what I think everybody misses on Simonson is the first 2 or 3 steps, he really doesn't bend his knees. He doesn't bend his knees till basically, I get that Simo's release is very low. I did the video. I get it.
I was about to say, walking around, he's very low to the ground too.
Yeah, but if you watch, he drops his hips the same place Belmonte does. He just has more upper body tilt. I would imagine if you measured, Simo might have longer arms than he is. Everybody's if you're 6 foot tall, your wingspan should be 6 foot. I think if you measure Simo, his wingspan may be a little longer than his body type. He's got unbelievably long arms. He gets low, but he gets low late. He doesn't get low early. He tilts early, but he doesn't drop his hips to the exact same place Jason does.
Yeah, it's like almost every good defensive player in basketball has really long arms.
And Simonson's not very tall. So Simonson, there's only other one person that really bowls like Simonson would be Robarge. Spencer's the same body type. He tilts really early. He runs up there pretty good. He's forward quick, and he's built almost exactly like Simo. So I think a lot of what Simo does is built. If you're 6'2", you're not bowling like Anthony Simonson.
No.
So I think there's part of your body makeup determines a little bit of your style. So when I do virtual lessons, I think this bowler's like you, but if you're built 5'9" and you're strong, I'm pretty much going to use Bill O'Neill every time. Bill's fundamentally sound, and he's got a certain body type. You're 6'2" and thin. I'm picking Chris when he was younger. That was supposed to be a joke. his 2011 videos and his videos now, yes, Father Time undefeated.
Yeah, it's when he went from a 4-step approach to a 3-step approach and didn't notice that I think it went downhill. But
Yeah.
He says, I find what Bakes is saying about the left off arm interesting. I figured doing what Marshall Kent does with the thumb down and arm forward is the best.
That I have no problem with any of it. I never came up with one that I teach more than the other.
I was about to say, I think what you're really saying is there is a couple of things you can't do. Just don't do those.
Correct.
Like when you were talking about it, moving, like coming forward and stuff. I think you were more on that train than you were on any of the rest of it. I think that's more where we're trying to get to with that.
Yep.
David, thank you very much. I am a 2-handed bowler and I'm looking for some online coaching. Do you guys do it? If not, can you recommend someone? I recommend this guy here next to me. Yeah,
David. I mean, you can buy. I mean, how I would do it though, David, I would buy the video first. For one, you're going to see Belmonte and Simonson. I'm going to break it down for 20 minutes. Another two, part of finding a coach is the coach that makes sense to you. I may not be your cup of tea, or I may be the guy that makes the most sense to you. But if you watch the video, you will see how I see the game. You'll see my certain type of energy. I talk pretty fast, but you're going to see how I break things down. If that makes complete sense to you, then you go to my website, Mark Baker Bowling, and you click on virtual lessons, take a virtual lesson. I would always start with a video to make sure. Some coaches are super mellow. They talk real slow. They're very calm, and people respond well to that. I'm on the other end of that spectrum. Now, I do okay at this. So, obviously people like my style too. But I think part of coaching is finding the coach that makes the most sense to you, not just who's the best coach, the coach that you think you would work the best with. And so it's easiest. The video, it's only $75. It's the cheapest thing I offer. So that would tell you right then and there, yes, that made sense. I want to throw it like Belmo. Let me send you my virtual lesson. This guy knows what he's talking about. Or you don't. So that's how I would do it. And yes, I do offer virtual lessons.
We do have to catch up here, Mark. Yep. So it says, do you think it's possible to be 60-year-old and start 200 bowling?
Happens every week. I can't believe the amount of people that are getting into two-handed as they get a little bit older. There's some limitations to how hard you're going to throw it. But if you're in halfway decent shape and you like to bowl a lot and your legs are strong, go for it. I'm seeing more and more of it.
Pete says, being 6'3", how do you keep your legs underneath us?
That's all I focus on. To me, it's always about your head being on top of the appropriate foot. So if Don Barrett or Bill O'Neill or Barnes, every step they take, their head stays like second step, third step, pivot step, slide. Like Dave Hughes did in the video, 6'2". His steps go directly under his head every time, just like you walk down the street. So they stay in balance the longest, so they post the most. Most people get their head either too far in front or they get their shoulders and their head too far back of their feet. Then they're trying to rebalance themselves as they bowl.
Says, at 5'6", I don't agree with your assessment.
You can't please everybody.
Mark Hendricks, we met in Detroit. I'm 6'9". What advice do you have for people my height to stay more consistent and accurate?
6'9" is a big dude.
Yeah.
So you're going to have some knee flex, but I still don't think much. I still think staying in balance. I think what I find with most people anymore, they all get too far from the foul line in their start. And their last step's a long way from the foul line and they lunge. Even though you're 6'9", you want to use that foul line as a barrier. So when you get to the foul line, not only is your head at the foul line, and so is your kneecap. Parker Bone, Brian Voss were probably the two best I ever saw at that. They made the lane the shortest by getting his most body part to the foul line. So being 6'9", don't be afraid to throw it hard. Don't be afraid to loft it. Drill balls that are aggressive and just use those super long levers. When they hook, you should beat everybody.
Yeah, I going on what you were saying, I was about to say surface will be your friend.
Have to, because your levers are so long, the ball's just going to fly down the lane.
One-handed turn two-hander, having a hard time tilting forward enough. Tips. I just fight turning the ball and the ball wraps around.
So you shouldn't tilt forward till the ball's starting near your backswing. So watch Jason. Stands up tall in the first two steps. He tilts. He doesn't drop. As his ball swings back, past by his hips, that's when your head goes down when the ball goes back. So when your head goes down, the ball goes up. That's what creates the height of your backswing, and that will give you more ball speed. because you're dropping your shoulders too soon. If you drop down before the ball goes back, then you pull it up with your shoulders, then your shoulders open up, and then your shoulders close. Probably the most common thing I fix right there.
I was about to say, Daniel, I honestly can't emphasize enough how much more of an understanding you will have of the two-handed swing if you get the video. Don't buy it yet, though, because you might win the drawing. Stuart, a regular contributor, says, good evening, gents. Is there any tips, drills to help with spine tilt and moving the air forward for two-handers?
I don't believe in drills.
Me either.
So I have none. The Westpac Training Center is a drill-free environment.
Yeah. But in general, though, he's saying about moving the air forward.
That's being in time. You have to be in time.
Yeah.
If you're in time, it's actually very easy. If you're not in time, you're going to drop down or pull up because you're using the wrong power source. If you have good timing in your right leg, if you're right-handed, would be your power source, not your shoulder. If you're early or late, it's an unconscious transfer of power to your shoulder. And once your power does that, you can't move the air forward because you're standing up or diving down. So timing creates that.
One-handed, slightly rev dominant, 3-ball Arsenal beside plastic and 2 pitch blacks. 9 different centers in the Danish league. Thinking IQ, phase 2, and attention star. One-handed, slightly rev dominant. Yeah, I mean, for me, if you're moving around everywhere, I would have a stronger asymmetrical ball. So I would probably go with something like a gem. And then gem, maybe do the phase 2 and the attention star. But yeah, I mean, IQ, phase 2, and attention star aren't terrible options either. Been working hard on staying behind under the ball when I have a tendency to turn it early on the downswing. Any tips? Would this be a right
your body? That's your breastplate.
Yeah.
Yep. In the timing spot. Yeah. One last question, dude. I gotta get to work.
Oh God. Well, we've got to do 2. I'm sorry.
Okay, let's do it.
Must I look at the arrows when pointing towards the Baker box, or can I use the dots as a target? It feels easier to look closer to the foul line. I'll answer this.
You can look wherever you want. I just want you to be aware of where the Baker box is down lane. So your ball's going through how I do the tape. Yeah, everybody looks somewhere different. Foul line, dots, arrows, the Baker box, halfway. I have no set place I think people should look. You have to look the one that you think can make you the most consistent, but also be aware where your ball is at 45 feet.
Yeah, and like real quick, we had this conversation a lot. It's about drawing the line in your mind that you want to play and then going from there. Yep. Tom, I will get to the other questions. I'm sorry. Great show, guys. Often practice sessions too long with diminishing returns. Is there a good baseline for length of practice sessions?
50 shots.
Sorry?
50 shots. I give lessons all day. When it gets to shot 50, the shots never get better at shot 60, unless you're a touring player. You guys tend to bowl really good after a while. But if you're not bowling at least 30 games a week, if you could practice 50 shots, it'd probably take you about an hour and a half. So 90 minutes of concentration. 50 to 60 shots is what you should throw, not time, the amount of shots.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I will finish up answering some of these extra questions and I will get a winner and then I will send you an email. Thanks for coming on again, babe.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it.
Always fun being on
Margie.
Take care.
All right, guys.
Well, that was Mark Baker. All of the super chats came in a little late, so we had to get through them. I'm sorry about that. Mark really needed to get on with a lesson. He had a lesson starting in about a minute. Yeah, exactly a minute. So we already did that one. Kenneth. I can answer some of these because we've had Mark on before. It says, have any tips for coming back after 6 months off from an injury? The main things that Mark talks about there is coming back a little slower. Don't obviously don't, be full in bowling, 10 games a day. You've got to, you've just got to build up from that. So start slow. If you have the ability, maybe try a little bit of a lighter ball just to start with. But yeah, they were the things that Mark spoke about, not being too quick to try and get back to the same spot as you were before. I know that that's not really that helpful, but that's kind of the way it's got to be. Glenn, good morning. Love it when coach is on. Did you? There it is. How would you fix aiming issues as a two-handed bowler? To be honest, most times when you're talking about aiming issues, it's timing issues because you're not releasing at the same spot every time. So this is definitely a timing issue. So work on getting your timing more consistent, and that is going to be your main the main thing that will lead to being more accurate. If that's what you mean by aiming issues. What is moving the air forward? It's about having your chest push towards the pins. So, like, you want to push the air, like what Mark's talking about is that your chest is pushing towards the foul line. As you get towards the foul line, it's pushing the air down the lane rather than being too far tilted over and then it's pushing the air down. I hope that kind of makes sense, but it's Mark's thinking about how your chest is. As you get to the foul line, you want to be going forward. You don't want to be going dipping down. I must have looked absolutely ridiculous on the camera doing that, but that's what Mark's talking about. Well, thanks, Doggernaut. I appreciate you. Joshua, love the show. Keep up the great work. And that is all caught up. So thanks, guys, for tuning in. We have 25 super chats. So let me quickly pull up my random number generator. Right. So I haven't hit the button yet. So don't get excited about 6 being the answer. Not that it really helps you guys, I guess. But random number generator. Right. So 1 to 25, first time, 18. So let me just count up. Warren, you won the Mark Baker video. Send me a message. Send me an email, beefandbarnsey@gmail.com. Let me know your email that you want to use because it'll be a login to be able to get access to the video and whether you want the one-handed or the two-handed video. So check that out. And congratulations. One quick question here. Well, obviously having more tournaments would be good. Yeah. But the problem is having more tournaments with half the prize fund wouldn't be good. So if we bowled the same tournaments we bowled now with the same amount of prize fund and we bowled twice as many of them, that would be good. But taking the prize fund we've got, splitting it in half, and then having it over so we just have loads more expenses for the same total prize money wouldn't be good. So, yeah, I think everybody would like to bowl more, but yeah, it's all about opportunities and finances. Yeah. There you go, James. So, all right, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in. We will do this again. We are trying to we are trying to do this once a month. But the last few months has been a little bit busy with the PBA tour going on. But now we're back. And Chris's schedule is a bit all over the place. We will be able to have more options because Chris won't be here all of the time. Bowling that senior tour. Started off with a 3rd place finish this week. Congratulations to Tom Hess for winning title number 6. But I will be back next week. I don't know what Chris's schedule is next week. I haven't really delved deep into it, but I am off to Shawnee, Oklahoma this weekend. I'm going to see our friends up there at Fire Lake. So thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for all the questions. Congrats again to the winner. And yeah, we would like to thank the sponsors that support us: Storm, Rotogrip, 900 Global, Turbo, Cool Wick, Bowlers Mart, Fire Lake Bowling Center, Platinum Ford, and Lightning Strikes. With that, I will see you next week. Take care. Have a good weekend. And if you're bowling something, make sure you win. Take it easy. Bye-bye now.